Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Freeman Fitness and welcome back to a new video where today I'm going to explain to you how I went from running 1.5 miles to running 4 miles in just a month. So I started doing my runs on the 10th of April and by the 8th of May I was able to run 4 miles. So I'm sure you're interested to see how I did that. Let's get the video started. Okay, so this video I'm going to be giving you tips on how I've managed to do this sort of transformation between going from 1.5 miles and 4 miles. And I'm going to take you through the tips that I sort of learned along the way, and I'm going to tell them to you in the order that I learned them myself. So initially, I suppose tip number one is to track your runs, because I use an app called Strava. So Strava, is the app that I use to track all of my runs, and I found it really useful to use that in order to know how you're progressing through time. It's the same sort of thing as MyFitnessPal tracking your calories. It's very important to do it, and it means that you can set yourself targets to do in the future. So I'm going to be bringing up examples on the screen on this side. For me this is the right, but I'm pretty sure in the video this is going to be the left side. So I'm going to keep bringing up examples of my runs that I track through Strava on there as I talk. And so I'm going to get into week one and let you know how things went. So like I said, I started my runs on the 10th of April, and on this day I ran 1.5 miles. And I ran this on a Thursday. I also ran this on the Friday as well. But the first tip that I'd give to all of you is to set yourself an initial goal, whether that be distance that you want to cover or simply the route that you want to take. Set yourself that initial goal that's going to take you probably around 10 to 15 minutes to complete, which is probably going to be somewhere within the region of 1 to 1.5 miles. I personally chose 1.5 miles as running something that I've done in the past, and I have been able to run a 5k previously. But if you're someone that's brand new to running, I suggest something more along the lines of going for a mile or maybe about 10 minutes. So that's kind of what I did to get started. Thing to note, as you'll see on this side of the screen with the run that I've got up, my lungs were actually hurting on Thursday. I think I put this on, and then on Friday I also found the run a little bit harder. But this was my first week of running, and there was a few tips that I still didn't know, which we're going to go through in the rest of this video, that meant that I was able to sort those things out. So week 2 came along and I began to run 2.2 miles. So I'd upped that distance from 1.5 miles to 2.2. I set myself the goal of running 5k. That was sort of what I wanted to be doing in the near future. That was the goal I was working towards. And so I was increasing my distance each week in order to eventually reach that goal. So within this week, I'll bring up an example of one of the runs that I did on this side of the screen that I'm looking at right now. And one of the tips I learned from this week is the importance of learning a breathing technique and a general running technique when it comes to running. Now you can find examples of tons of these on YouTube, and that's exactly where I went to get my information from. And I essentially learned how I should be breathing and how I should be running. Now I'll tell you, with breathing, I found it best to be breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, which is easier said than done, but with just a little bit of practice you will get used to it after a few runs. In terms of running techniques, you can find plenty of them online, so just go into YouTube and have a look on there. Because I'm not really someone, I'm not a qualified coach or anything, so I won't want to be giving you too much advice on stuff that I don't know very well. What I'm giving you advice on is stuff that's worked for me personally, but I would recommend further reading. So make sure you get yourself on YouTube, type in something like running techniques, and just have a look at a few of the videos, and they'll definitely enlighten you on ways in which you can better run. And one more tip that I learned this week as well was just to pace myself. I found that in some of my runs I was going a bit too quickly and I was gassing myself out. And there was examples of times where I said, it's like a 15-minute run or something, 15-20 minutes, and I felt like gassing out around the 15-minute mark. I felt like giving up. And I didn't give up, but the thing is, that wouldn't have happened if I'd just paced myself properly. And I believe it was on Saturday's run, which I'll bring up, that I actually kind of realised this fully, and so I paced myself, and I realised that I actually went faster than I thought because of the fact that I paced myself, and I kind of just built up that speed rather than going really quick straight from the get-go and gassing myself out near the end. So week 3 came along and I did it. I managed to run 5k, and as you can see on the run there, I was very excited about that. I was very shocked at the fact that I've been able to do it in just 2 weeks. But obviously you need to take into account the fact that I have done a 5k before. So if you are brand new to running, it may take you a little bit longer to get to this point. However, if we have a look through the week, on Wednesday I managed to do the 5k again, but I found it harder and I went a little bit slower. And on Thursday I actually failed. But despite failing on Thursday, when it got to Saturday, I came back even stronger and I actually managed to run the 5k in my fastest time compared to the other 2 times that I'd run it earlier in the week. But I think one of the most important things I learned from this week is that you need to have an adequate rest time between each of your runs. I found it's best to have at least one full day off between each run. So say between like my Monday and my Wednesday run, for example, that was kind of enough time. But going on to my Thursday run and just not even having any days off at all, I do think that's one of the main reasons why I actually failed the run on Thursday. But one thing that failure taught me is another tip that I'm going to tell you all, and that is don't let your failures get the better of you. You need to use that failure for motivation and drive in the future. So on Thursday, I was actually quite upset at the fact that I didn't get that run done, that I failed the run. So I walked home, I wasn't feeling great. But once I got home, I just went in with a new plan. So I reevaluated my strategy and I plan to, instead of doing runs Monday, Wednesday, Thursday and Saturday, I plan to just reduce that down to 3 runs a week now, which are going to be on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So on Friday I picked myself up, and then on Saturday I went in and I got my 5k again, with the knowledge that I was going to take a rest on Sunday and I was going to take a completely new approach to my running in week 4. So week 4 came along. As you can see on the screen, I beat my 5k time again on a Monday, was feeling really motivated and managed to smash it out. On Wednesday I had a shorter run, which you could say is more of a recovery run if you like. And on this run I focused mainly on speed. And then on Friday, as you'll see right there, I actually managed to get my longest distance of 3.6 miles because I just pushed myself that little bit further. And I've been applying all those tips that you've seen previously, including having that recovery run on Wednesday and having enough recovery time to be able to run on Friday without feeling any effects from previous runs. And I believe that was probably the main reason that I was able to beat my distance again. So that essentially outlines the main tip that I'm giving to you all for this week, and that's to have varying runs. So on Monday is my 5k run, on Wednesday is my speed run where I go a bit less of a distance, and on Friday is my distance run where I try to run a bit further. On Monday I try and use what I've done in the previous week on the Wednesday and the Friday in order to be running at a speed that's a little bit quicker, but not as quick as the speed that I ran on the Wednesday. And as well, I've obviously run further on the Friday now, so I use that to kind of psych myself up and say, you know what, I've run further than 5k before, I can do this. And I found that's worked out really well for me. And like I was saying about the shorter runs on Wednesday, this kind of outlines another tip, and that's to use that midweek run as a recovery run. If you're like me and you're going to do your long distance runs on Friday, having that sort of shorter recovery run on Wednesday is just going to mean that on the Friday you feel even more ready to get that distance done. So I definitely recommend that one to you all. So then week 5 came along, and it's a very interesting week because I didn't actually run on the Monday. Reason being, I picked up a little bit of a calf injury at the weekend. This was down to skipping because I just got a skipping rope and I just decided to do as many skips as I possibly could, probably way too many. And yeah, that just hurt my calf a little bit. So I skipped my run on Monday, but then I went on Wednesday and Friday. And that essentially outlines probably one of the more important tips that I've learned along the way. And that's that if you do pick up an injury, make sure you do not run if you've got an injury. If you do pick up an injury, make sure you don't run on a day where you have that injury. Make sure that you just rest up and make sure the injury is completely gone before you start running again. Because the last thing you'd want is for that injury to get even worse by trying to fight through it, and then you'd be out for way longer than you would have been if you'd have just taken even that one rest day to let your minor injury heal. Another thing I learned on this week is the power of pre-workout. So I'd never taken a pre-workout before, but I decided to order one in because I felt like maybe it could sort of improve my performance a little bit. After taking it, I realised just how much it actually really helped me out. Taking a pre-workout, it's essentially like a big caffeine boost, and for that reason you get so much more focus and you feel so much more energized when you go for your run. And so I feel like that really helped with my speed run and with my distance run as well. And on this week, as you can see, I'll put it right there, that is my Friday run. I feel like I can use the pre-workout as probably the main reason why I was able to get the 4 miles, because I was just that little bit more focused and determined to get the job done. So for that reason, I managed to get 4 miles. And this was done over a 5-week period, so you could say that was a little bit over a month, but I'm going to call it 1 month because I did start on the Thursday of the first week. So that's essentially my journey from going from 1.5 miles to 4 miles. Okay, so moving on to week 6, we have now caught up with real life. This is the week that I'm on now, or just finishing because I'm recording this on a Sunday. And this week, I went for my 5k run on Monday, I beat my time. I went for my shorter run on Tuesday. I got my fastest mile a minute to date, which I'll put up right there, 7.5 minutes a mile roughly. But I did sustain another injury. So like I said in one of the previous tips, if you're injured, you don't run. So on Friday, I had my injury and I just took the day off completely. At this point in time, I feel like I'm nearly better. But if I'm still feeling the injury a little bit tomorrow, then I'll probably skip the run again because I want to make sure that I'm at full health before I go on my next run. But yeah, one last tip that I'll give you from this week is to just start off slow and just build up your momentum so that you can give it your all in the last bit of the run, which is really where you want to be pushing it out to get those better times. I feel that's the reason why I beat my time this week by, well, I'll put it up there again. And I believe I beat my time by at least 30 seconds to a minute again this week. And my fastest mile was my last one. The last 0.3 miles was my fastest bit of the run that I went on. So I used that tip. And I feel like that's the reason why I was able to beat my time again. Just by saving a little bit in the tank that you can go all out on that last little bit of the run. Alright, so now that I've brought you up to date with my runs, I'm going to run through the tips again. Actually going to bring them up on my left, probably your right side of the screen right now. So, tip 1, set yourself your first initial goal. Make sure that it's something attainable and make sure it's something that is also going to challenge you as well. 2, learn breathing techniques and general running techniques, which you can find on YouTube. Make sure you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, and make sure you've mastered that running technique before you start going up in distance and up in speed. Number 3 is to pace yourself. Make sure you don't start off too quick. Make sure you run at the speed that you find is quite comfortable so that you can complete the run. Number 4 is having adequate rest periods between each of your runs. My general guideline is to leave at least a day between each of the runs. So between Monday and Wednesday, having the Tuesday off, Wednesday and Friday, having the Thursday off. Obviously, between Friday and Monday, I'm having 2 days off. Number 5 is use failure to drive you. Don't let it get you down. Make sure that if you do fail, you pick yourself back up and you use that failure to do even better next time. Number 6 is to vary your runs. Have your days where you're running your sort of race runs. So for me, that's 5k, where you're trying to utilize what you've done the previous week. Have your shorter runs or your recovery runs midweek, so that you're able to then have your longest run on the Friday where you try and beat your distance. And I found that that sort of structure works really well for me. Number 7 is don't run if you get injured. Make sure that your injury is completely gone before you go for your next run. Number 8 is to use a pre-workout, as that's going to increase your focus and performance and allow you to just do that little bit extra. But however, I would probably start running without the pre-workout and then start taking it as you start increasing your distance, just so that you can feel what it's like to run without the pre-workout first, and then once you introduce that pre-workout, that's going to essentially level up your running. And lastly, I'll leave you with a little phrase, and that is start slow, gain speed, finish strong. And that's essentially how you're going to be able to run faster for longer. So if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you leave the video a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also turn that notification bell on so that you never miss an upload. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.